Alright, question 19 for Practice Provincial B. Assess which of the following scenarios is not linear. This question is kind of a little unfair in my opinion because it requires a little bit of knowledge of physics. Now, if you've already taken Science 10, there was a component of physics in Science 10 that dealt with accelerations and falling objects, and maybe even if your teacher showed it to you for projectile motion. So, the reason I say it might require some knowledge of physics is particularly because of these two answers here, A and C. Okay. Now in physics class, or even Science 10 in the physics component, any time that you have an object flying through the air, so objects in the air, okay, they will feel acceleration. So they feel, objects in air feel acceleration due to gravity. Okay. And what an acceleration is an acceleration is a change in speed, or a change in velocity. And a velocity is a rate. So if an object experiences a change in a rate, so let's write that down. Acceleration is a change in a rate. Well, anytime that a rate is changing, this is non-linear. Okay? So if your rate is changing, it is non-linear. So if an object is accelerating due to gravity, it is non-linear. Okay, if you know that, then this question is really, really easy, because you automatically know that, well, if the football is thrown in the air, it accelerates, therefore, since acceleration is a change in rate, it is non-linear. Now, if you don't know this, so let's assume that you don't know what this is. You don't know that acceleration is a change in rate, and a change in rate means it's non-linear. If you don't know what that is, then we kind of have to analyze the other answers. So let me just erase this bit here. Okay, because I'm going to assume that we did not cover this, because I know I didn't cover it in my math class because I didn't think about actually covering elementary physics like that in my math class. And if you did Science 10 already, then, well, you must have done Science 10 because this is a grade 10 math class, then you will have seen the acceleration bit already. Alright, so let's analyze the other three then, because we're not sure if A is linear or non-linear. Because again, we're assuming we don't know anything about acceleration or gravity. Right, in B, the total weight of a jar of pennies as more pennies are added. Well, we had a similar question earlier in the test where we were adding marbles to a jar, and it exhibited a very linear relationship like this. Okay, very linear, very linear. So we can assume that if the weight of a jar of pennies is the same as the weight of a jar of marbles, then it'll probably be linear. So B is linear. So this, we can say that B is linear. Okay. C. This is traveled by a car moving at a constant speed. Well, constant speed means that if I travel a certain distance, I will move a certain, or if I travel a certain time, I'll travel a certain distance. If I travel some more, I'll continue traveling the same amount of distance for every interval of time. So this looks like it can also be linear. Because again, my speed is constant, so every time I travel a certain amount of time, I will move a certain amount of distance. I'll use a numerical example. Let's say if our speed, we'll call it v, if our speed was 1 meter per second, then every second I would go up 1 meter. So 1 second goes up 1 meter, 2 seconds goes up 2 meters, 3 seconds goes up 3 meters, and so on. And this would be a very linear relationship, so that's good. So C is linear. Okay. D. The pay of a truck driver who earns $2,500 a month plus 50 cents for every kilometer he drives. So basically it says this is what it would look like. You start off, if you don't drive anywhere, you start off with $2,500. Every kilometer, your pay goes up by 50 cents. And as you can see, this is starting to look also linear, because every kilometer you're going up by the same amount. Your rate is the same. So this is going to be linear. Alright, so we know that B, C, and D are linear. That means that A has to be not linear. So 19 has to be A, because one of the edges has to match. One of them has to be not linear. Okay, if B, C, and D are linear, A has to be nonlinear. And that's how we solve it if we don't know anything about gravity. And let's check to make sure we are correct. 19, A. Okay. As I said, this question is made a lot easier if you have some knowledge of acceleration and gravity, because as soon as you know something is accelerating or something is affected by gravity, then it's going to have a non-linear motion or non-linear graph.